Hello, I'm so excited. I love Tuesdays and Thursdays. Okay, so thank you, Holy Spirit. Use me today. All right, I want to start with this today because most women don't wake up one morning and decide to walk away from their calling. It happens slowly, one compromise, one distraction, one excuse, one season of being too busy, and one season of caring more about what people think than what God said. And before you know it, you're successful, but you're disconnected. You're producing, but you're not aligned, and you're building, but you're no longer building what God asked you to build. And Daniel teaches us exactly how to avoid that. Welcome to the Arise Hour with Dr. Martha Nessler, where we renew our minds, we reclaim our identity, and we align our lives with heaven's blueprint so we can rise into the life God created us to live. So I think we're all afraid of failure. And who wants to fail? Who wants to fail at something, especially something God's called you to do? But what I think is even more dangerous than failure, okay? Um, and I think as a high capacity woman who works with high capacity women, it's not the danger of failure that we're really running from. It's we need to be aware of the danger of the drift because failure is big, it gets your attention, right? But the drift, it's not really like that because it feels normal, it feels justified, it even feels productive. So you'll start by saying, and if you've ever watched someone drift away from their calling, I'm just busy, I'm in a different season, I'll get back to that later. I'm just trying to build this first. But slowly in that drift, your relationship with God, it becomes secondary. And it's not because you stopped loving him, but because things just became louder. Sorry, I'm turning my comments on here. I'd love for you to tell us where you are and anything you love about Daniel. So I'm just a little bit, it's the Tennessee, I don't know, allergy situation. Shh. Hold on one second. My dog's afraid of a paper towel. All right. Gotta love a dog who's afraid of a paper towel. Way to protect me. So in Daniel 1:8, it said Daniel resolved. And we've already covered Daniel. So I'm not going to go into that. But the word resolved, that means he made a decision. And when we talk about what did Daniel resolved, his decision was made long before he was tested. And I think that like this is where a lot of women struggle. They wait till that moment of pressure and then we try to decide. At least that was what happened for me. And to be honest, that was what happened for that's what's happened for quite a few of my clients. But you know, Daniel, he'd already decided, like he wasn't waiting for a promotion or to be influential or successful. He already decided that he was going to honor God. I mean, like the minute he got there, when the king had said, I want them to eat choice meats and I want them, he'd already decided, like, I'm going to remain pure. I'm not going to do that. That's out of alignment with what I want for my life. And so I think when we make that decision, that concrete decision, that there is less of a chance that we drift. And I know for me, and I'm going to bring my walk with the Lord into this a little bit, because back when I was more, I would say, saved, when I was like giving my heart to Jesus and I was saved, I think there was more flexibility for God to be this board member and for me to run to him when things weren't going well, and for me to run to him when I needed him, but to kind of put him over here, out of sight, out of mind, when things were going well. And it was like when I needed him, I elevated him in my life. So as I went through about 5 years ago, this radical transformation, I like to say, and this was brought up, if any of you are watching in my old Bible study, I forget who brought it up, but there's a difference between being saved and serving the Lord. And I like to say, I used to soft serve the Lord, and now I hard serve, hardcore serve. But that there's just less room for negotiation in my life. Like I know the Lord has called me. In this whole series of leadership, like I've seen each area of my life. So I knew the Lord called me and I said, yes, Lord. And I had this decision, right? And what we say about David was he resolved, like I'd made my resolution, like I'm in God, I'm going to be called. So when in the testing, in the preparation, in the influence, um, I got my eyes on the Lord, right? So I think the question, like I want to ask you during this coaching hour is, what have you already decided? Like, what have you resolved? Because Daniel had resolved to follow the Lord. Um, and I get asked this a lot, like, especially because I've made a bit of a radical transformation, or God has taken me through a bit of a radical transformation. And that radical transformation is that I was a chiropractor and an essential oil educator around the world. Health and wellness has always been what I've done. That's my background. And then suddenly the Lord was like, actually, I'm calling you to something new. And it was definitely a struggle because one, what I've done is safe. What I've done is familiar, and I know I'm good at what I do. And so there's been this question of, am I going to be good at this? Right. And obviously, when you hear me say that, you think, well, of course, if the Lord asks you to do it. But I think we can all come to the agreement in every single person I work with, right? Or not even work with, like people who I speak with just in general about the Lord's calling. There's that bit of a, will I actually be good at this? And I think many women assume that you get called, it's always exciting, and that it's never going to be boring or hidden or feel repetitive. So when I get asked this, like just the other day, how do I know if I'm still walking in my calling? I think the answer is I just look at the alignment I have in my life. Are things aligning? Because when it's God's will, He fits the bill. And that doesn't just mean financially. He fits the bill so that it flows in your life, and He fits the bill so that it all comes together. And He makes it work. Like He doesn't even make it work. It just works because He's in the details, right? But this is where I'm going to bring this up again. And I think I'm going to bring it up probably in every coaching session I ever had. That God's sovereignty versus our free will. And that's where women get stuck. Because especially as women, we're planners, we've got the family schedule, we've got all the things we're balancing. I'm actually just starting a women's chiropractic mastermind. And that's because as a woman chiropractor, which I know well, we're taking care of the patients, their needs, physically, emotionally, spiritually, right? Because they're bringing the pain in, they're bringing the frustrations in, the family stuff in. And we can't remove parts of the body, like the emotions the body feels, right? Then we've got the home and the kids, and we've got the finances and running the business. And how do I balance all that with being the woman God asked me to be? And that's that God is sovereign, overarching, right? He's got this plan. How do I submit my free will? And that's really, I like I said, where women get stuck. It's hard because we want to know the whole plan, like we want to know it all, but we have to realize God works through natural order, miracles, and providence. That's how He works. Okay. So He's got all these different things. He's like moving around in the greatest strategy game ever played. And then we have like the responsibility to plan, to pray, to trust, and obey. So I think that tension, though, that we feel, especially as women, especially in a society that says, be strong, do more, is learning to build while surrendering. So it's like build, surrender. It's like, wait, where do I find that balance? And I think it's a deeply personal balance that each woman's going to go through. It's not something that there's a recipe for. And, in my Arise framework, I don't focus on being the guru or the mentor. I don't focus on this is what I say. I focus on what is the Lord showing you and really teaching you how to hear more clearly from the Lord. Right now, if this is blessing you, I want to stop because I believe the Lord wants these messages out. And if you could subscribe to the channel, and follow. And if you could like this post and even comment 1 or 2 comments, that would just be so amazing. Tag a friend, share it with a friend, because I know that people need to hear this, right? It's not something that's talked about, but going on a little bit more. So Daniel was promoted over and over again, and promotion can be a bit dangerous. And I say that because when we're struggling, where do we run to? God. Who do we cling to? God. But now when we're being promoted, what happens? We tend to like kind of push God aside. And I hate to say this, but success in life, if we're not careful, right? And if we're not like Daniel and we decide, like we just decide, it can push us away from God. And the farther we get from God, and the more we believe that like we actually don't need God, because like, look what I can do, I've done this, that's when self-sufficiency starts to take over. And I believe that self-sufficiency is one of the greatest threats to calling, especially women's calling, because we were really created. The word is ezer, E-Z-E-R. If you're down under, it's E-Z-E-R. And that word is translated to helpmate, but it's not translated in the way that we see the word, which is like we're subservient. Because the other times it's used, which I think it's 21 times, the word ezer is used, it's used to describe God and God helping. And it's used to describe nations, women, and God. So it's not a less than, it is we're really here to support, to come in and to help, right? So that is our nature. But self-sufficiency can threaten us because we become dependent on ourselves. Success leads us to feel that we just need ourselves. And it happens really quietly. A lot of these things happen quietly in the background. And I will say it again, the enemy wants to get to your subconscious. He wants to rewire it. And he wants to use your trauma, your drama, your experiences, and what people say to you to really run your life. Okay. So excellent is not, being excellent at things is not the same as alignment, but you can be excellent and be in alignment. So, but you can also be excellent and be out of alignment. So people can view their excellence like making money, building a business, growing influence, having success, like showing up excellently, but still not be exactly where God wants them to be. And Daniel teaches us that even though you're seen as excellent. So he was seen as excellent because he could interpret these dreams, but he was still submitted to God. He still knew who gave him the glory. He still said God did this. He still pointed back to God. And I really think that's crucial, that we realize that we don't let excellence or the things that we've achieved get in the way. So the question is not like, am I successful, but am I still aligned? Because we have to really realize like one day the business won't matter, the platform won't matter, the followers won't matter. I mean, if you're like your Instagram channel went away tomorrow, or like your business burned down, there's a business that just burned down. It was so sad here in my town. Your titles don't matter. Like what you did doesn't matter. It's the obedience. And that's why I say obedience is the love language of heaven. That's what moves God's heart, not what we do. And for so long, I was wrapped up in the more that I did, the more I would achieve and the more God would love me. But it's really the more I adhere to what God says, that's what it's about, right? And even when it doesn't make sense. So what do I always think, if I was speaking to myself, a high capacity woman who's saying, I want to make God my CEO, like what do they need to hear? God's not looking for a perfect woman. He's looking for a surrendered heart. He's looking for a woman who will listen, who will obey, who will stay faithful, even in the hard times. Who, I did a reel today, like about the world says do this, but God says do it anyways, and like it's so we can be so hesitant to take a step forward. And God's like, um, take it, follow me, right? He wants us to refuse the compromise. He wants us to set standards and hold them. Because culture is going to say otherwise. Society is going to speak against the values of God. But how, my big question is, God, how can I align my values more with you? So Daniel, he was not influential because he chased influence. He became influential because he refused to compromise. And really, he just stayed obedient. Like that is refusing to compromise, staying obedient. So I don't know if this resonated with you. Please comment arise if this is something that you feel drawn to. I would love to talk to you. I'll get you connected to the community where we go deeper into this. So right now, those of the people in I have a free and a paid community, but those of you in my private community, I will meet you right now. And let's break this down even farther. But I do have two questions, which I'm going to be bringing to the Zoom as well. Have you drifted, or are you still aligned with what God originally asked you to do? Okay. And what are you trusting God with today? So I want you to drop it below. I would love to get to know you more. And once again, share this with someone, say hi in the comments, get you plugged into my free community. Just come and arise and we'll start a conversation.